Chandravad. She took initiation from His Holiness Jayapataka Swami in Atlanta in 1998. She has recently graduated from GBC College as a zonal supervisor in March 2019, and this certificate by none other than the most revered His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami. Her goal is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. That's why she immerses herself deeply in all services, heading the Divine Touch School, the festival coordination, congregational teaching are just some of them. She shares the responsibility of the smooth running of ISKCON, Vizag, with her husband, Sambit. She pioneered the yoga summer camp at Vizag, which has become very successful. Here, the school children stay at the temple for a week at the massive. In fact, there was a huge cyclone in 2014 that had reduced the ISKCON Vizag to mere debris. But then Mataji and her husband, Sangadas, played a pivotal role in raising the low spirits of the devotees and constructing a massive structure of Krishna, which is called as the glory of Andhra. Despite her heavy responsibilities, she travels worldwide, delivering thousands of lectures and inspiring millions in Krishna consciousness. And we are very grateful that she has chosen the most auspicious day of Nirjala Ekadashi to deliver a glorious lecture on Srimad Bhagavatham. And thank you so much, Hare Krishna Mataji. And you have been creating waves of Krishna consciousness wherever you go. And I'm sure that you will be creating some ripples and some waves here too.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you can start now.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayo Mudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naisiki. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 16, text number 20. Ayam bhuvo mandalamodayadre Gupte kaviro naradevanatha Asthaya jaitram rathamata chapaha Paryasyate dakshinato yatharka. Translation. This king, being uniquely powerful and heroic, will have no competitor. He will travel around the globe on his victorious chariot, holding his invincible bow in his hand and appearing exactly like the sun, which rotates in its own orbit from the south. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this verse, the word yatharka indicates that the sun is not fixed, but is rotating in its orbit, which is set by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita and also in other parts of Srimad In the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the sun rotates
in its own orbit at the rate of 16,000 miles per second. Similarly, Brahma Samhita states, Yes Yajnaya Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakraha. The sun rotates in its own orbit according to the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conclusion is that the sun is not fixed in one place. As far as Prithu Maharaj is concerned, it is indicated that his ruling power would extend all over the world. The Himalaya mountains from which the sunrise is first seen are called Udayachala or Udayadri. It is herein indicated that Prithu Maharaj's reign over the world would cover even the Himalayan mountains and extend to the borders of all oceans and seas. In other words, his reign would cover the entire planet. Another significant word in this verse is Naradeva. As described in the previous verses, the qualified king, be he King Prithu or any other king who rules over the state as an ideal king, should be understood to be God in human form. According to Vedic culture, the king is honored as the supreme personality of Godhead because he represents Narayan, who also gives protection to the citizens. He is therefore Natha or the proprietor. Even Sanatan Goswami gave respect to the Nawab Hossein Shah as Naradeva. Although the Nawab was Mohammedan, a king or government head must therefore be so competent to rule over the state that the citizens worship him as God in human form. That is the perfectional stage for the head of any government or state. So thank you very much for inviting me to this conference. Before I begin, I'd like to pay my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas in this conference. Vanchakalpatarubhayascha kripasindhavevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Please forgive the frequent interruptions. I've got a little cough and cold. So I understand that you have all been discussing this chapter 16 for some time now, since we have already come up to verse 20. We see here that Maharaj Prithu is being praised by the Maharaj Prithu is being praised, and if we see the theme, the way it is going, we see that from verses 6 to 14, Prithu Maharaj has been glorified as the different demigods. In comparison with demigods, we see in the previous verses that they have glorified him as Indra, the one who gives rain. So just like Indra gives rain, even Prithu Maharaj was instrumental in bringing rains to the citizens, just like. And he was also compared to Earth, just like Earth is so tolerant, though we commit so many sinful acts and we walk over her, but she tolerates us, she forgives us. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj also, just like Earth, was very tolerant, always forgiving his citizens. And then Prithu Maharaj is also compared with sun. Just like sun, for 8 months, the sun keeps taking the water, and then for the 4 months, the sun gives it back. The clouds give it back in form of rain. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj, though he was collecting taxes from the citizens, he giving back to the citizens by way of protection, by way of laying down roads, and by doing activities for their welfare, building temples. We see that Prabhupada said that, in the previous time, people very easily used to give 25% of their income to the government, and turn the government used to work for the welfare of the society. But now, even though the government is trying to grab, at least 60-80% of people's wealth, but in turn they are not doing anything. In fact, the taxes are being enjoyed by the political leaders. And then Prithu Maharaj was also compared to moon because of his affectionate glances and a pleasant smile and beautiful face. So similarly, we see that in these verses from 6 to 15, he has been compared with different demigods. And then we see from verse 15 to 19, there is an explanation about qualities of King Prithu. And from our today's verse, verse number 20 to 27, we see that there are predictions made about what Prithu Maharaj is going to achieve in future. So they talk about his travels and spreading of his fame and glory, and how in future there will be nobody who will disobey him, and how he's going to make the earth, and how he will terrify the bad elements. So that's the kind of predictions will be spoken about from verse 20 to 27. And we see in our today's verse, they are talking about how he will be very uniquely powerful, he will be heroic, and there will be no competitor to him. He will travel around the globe and in his chariot, and then he will be appearing just like his sun, which rotates in its own orbit from the south. If we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, they are full of stories of great kings. We see their stories of Maharaj Parikshit and Maharaj Ambarish, or for that matter, Dasarath Maharaj, or Ramachandra, or Priyavrata Maharaj, Bharat Maharaj, Yudhishthir Maharaj, Swayambhu Manu, Rachani Parikshit, and so on. It's full of such stories. We see here in purport, Srila Prabhupada said that the significant word in this verse is Naradeva. So not only King Prithu, for that matter, anybody who is an ideal king is a representative of Narayan. So he's like God in human form. And they also use the word for him Natha. That means he's the one who is a protector. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that even though Nawab Hussain was a Mohammedan, but because he was a king, Sanatan Goswami respected him. Because the position of a king is a very responsible position, because the kings, they protect the citizens, and the saintly people, the kind of austerities they do, they give 1/6 of the result of their pious activity to the king, because they know if the king is healthy, happy, he will in turn protect them. In a kingdom where the king is not very wise and he is weak, then the bad elements crop up. So that is why the Brahmanas, they were very concerned about the safety of the king. They were very concerned about the king. That is why we see, even in the case of Maharaj Parikshit, when Shringi curses Parikshit Maharaj, then Shamik Rishi, instead of becoming happy that his son has taken immediate action against somebody who has insulted him, he actually chastises his son, saying that why did you do that? Because Parikshit Maharaj is a king, and if he dies, who is going to protect us? So he was indifferent to the way Parikshit Maharaj had insulted him, that he was more worried that if Parikshit Maharaj goes away from this world, then who is going to protect us? So the Brahmanas in those days were very much concerned about the well-being of the kings, because that wherever the kings were powerful, the Brahmanas were protected, the fire sacrifices used to go on, the demigods used to give rains, and the grains used to grow in abundance, and everybody used to be happy. So the king was like the key player. In fact, in any place, if the citizens were not happy, then their unhappiness was also credited to the king. They would assume that maybe the king is sinful. Only if the king is sinful, then the citizens are unhappy. If the king is a religious person, a spiritual person, a pious person, then everybody in the kingdom remains happy. If we see in the Mahabharata also, there is one incident wherein Duryodhan, he goes and asks Bhishma. He says, grandfather, you have to help me. I want to know where the Pandavas are. So when Bhishma replies negative, he said, I'm not going to, I don't know where they are. Then Duryodhan argues. He says, you're a very wise man. At least you can give me some hint. why is that you don't have a liking for me? Why are you always partial? So Bhishma said, well, I'm not partial to anybody. Then Duryodhana says, if you're not partial, give me at least some hint. Since you're a wise person, you can tell me where may they be hiding, the Pandavas. Where are they hiding in the 13th year of their forest life? So then Bhishma gives a very nice hint. He said, go around and travel in whichever kingdom you find that people are happy, there are lots of rain, nice grains growing, trees are full of fruits and flowers, everybody is happy, then you will know that that place Pandavas reside. So then Duryodhana was like, how come you say that? And then Bhishma says, because Pandavas are very pious people, so wherever they go, they protect the Brahmanas, and the Brahmanas in turn do austerities, and everybody in that kingdom remains happy. So that is how it was. When the kings used to be powerful, wise, and spiritual, the whole kingdom used to remain happy. That is why the Brahmanas, they used to give 1/6 of the fruit of their own pious activities to the king. And in return, the king used to protect them. Like we see in the case of King Mayurdhwaja. Mayurdhwaja was a very pious king, and he was a very good devotee of Krishna. So once Krishna actually goes there in disguise to test him, so we all know the story of how Krishna goes there like an old Brahmana, and Arjun acts like Krishna's son. And they both go there and they speak to Mayurdhwaja. Mayurdhwaja is very happy in receiving a Brahman. So he says, how can I serve you today? And Krishna says, well, I'm an old man trying to get my son married. And in that course, I was traveling from your kingdom to another kingdom. On the way, I passed through a forest. And in the forest, I was attacked by a tiger. Now, this tiger wanted to attack my son. So I requested the tiger that, please leave my son. He's going to get married. Then the tiger accepted to release my son. But he said, in turn, I want the half of the body of King Mayurdhwaja. If he does charity of his body, then I can leave your son. So here I am standing in front of you, O king, with folded hands. I'm a Brahmin. I have made a promise. And as a king, it's your duty to protect me. So kindly give half of your body to the tiger. And King Mayurdhwaja was so happy. He said, it's my great fortune to be able to serve a Brahmana. So he immediately is ready to give that in sacrifice. And then when Mayurdhwaja's body is being cut into 2 pieces, the one part of Mayurdhwaja's body, he starts crying. There's the tears coming out from his eyes. So then king says, I don't accept. Then Brahmana, Krishna in the form of Brahmana says, I don't accept this charity. And Mayurdhwaja says, why? Then Krishna says that I don't want to accept a charity which has been given so sadly, shedding tears. Charity is supposed to be given happy. Then King Mayurdhwaja says, no, it's not true. It's not that I'm sad or I'm having any kind of a pain. It's just that I was thinking in my mind that how come I could use only half part of my body in service of a Brahmana? What sin I have done that the other part of body could not be utilized to serve a Brahmana? So immediately Krishna becomes so happy, and then he comes in his original form and blesses King Mayurdhwaja. So we see that the kings in those days were so eager to serve the Brahmanas. We see in the case of Maharaj Shivi also, when a pigeon comes to Maharaj Shivi and a hawk is following the pigeon, and the pigeon comes and asks Maharaj Shivi to protect him. But the hawk argues with Maharaj Shivi, is how can you take away my food? You are a king, you're supposed to serve for everybody's benefit. And then Maharaj Shivi says, well, yes, definitely, I will provide food for you too, but not this pigeon because now it's under my protection. So tell me what you want. So Fox says, well, I am a meat eater. I need flesh. So then the king says, fine, I'll give you flesh of some, I'll give you some other flesh. And he says, no, I want your flesh. And then Maharaj Shivi agrees. So then they arrange for a weighing scale and they put the pigeon on one side of the scale, and Maharaj Shivi cuts some flesh from his thighs and puts it on the other side of the weighing scale. But somehow by an arrangement of the demigods, No matter how much flesh he cuts from his thighs and puts on the other side of the weighing scale, it does not outweigh the weight of the pigeon. And he keeps doing it. And finally, at one point, the hawk and the pigeon, they come back in their original swaroop and they bless King Shibi. They say, well, this whole arrangement is just a leela. We wanted to test how um, good you are at protecting all the birds, animals, citizens, and everybody who is under your shelter. So he says, I'm nobody but King Indra, and here is Agni Devta, and we both have just come to check you or take a test of you. So that way we see in the case of Maharaj Shibi, just to protect a small pigeon, he was ready to give up his own flesh. We see in the case of Maharaj Rantidev, he was fasting for 48 days for the welfare of his citizens. And at the end of the fast of 48 days, when he was offered food, then there were people coming out there and asking for food in the form of chandala, in form of a dog eater, in form of a brahmana. And he keeps sharing that one plate of prasad with everybody, and at the end nothing remains. So he was in such a situation that if he wouldn't have eaten anything, he would have collapsed. But he was still eager to share the food with others. He didn't want to eat. If anybody else is hungry, he didn't want to take it. So those were the kings of, in those days, in the Vedic time. We even see in South India there was one very famous king, King Parivalal. He was also very kind to his citizens. Not only citizens, or for that matter, birds or animals, even plants in his kingdom were also so dear to him. There is one very famous story of how he was once going in his chariot, and on the way he saw that there was a very nice creeper which was not having support of any tree. As a result, it was swaying in the wind here and there. And Maharaj Parivalal, he was so kind. When he was passing through the chariot and he saw that the creeper is not having any support, he just takes a reverse in his chariot, stands next to the creeper. He parks his chariot right next to the creeper. He holds the creeper and he puts it in such a way that the creeper can take rest and support from the king's chariot. He keeps his chariot there, parks it there for the benefit of the creeper, and he walks back to his kingdom. To his palace. So the citizens were amazed that the king gets down from his chariot, gives the chariot to the support of the creeper, and he walks back to his palace. So you can imagine what kind of heart he must be having. Even for him, even creepers in his kingdom are like his children, and he's ready to do anything to protect them. We see even there was one other famous king in South India who once went on seeing the Vana Shobha during winter with his family and ministers, and they go inside deep forest to enjoy how the forest looks in winter season, different peacocks and all moving around. And when the king sees that this peacock is freezing because of cold, he immediately removes his shawl or blanket or whatever he was wearing on, and he goes and covers the peacock with that. And then he walks back in freezing cold without any other thing on his body. So if we just see in the history or in Srimad Bhagavatham and the scriptures, how these kings used to treat all the citizens as their own children. That is why when Shringi cursed Parikshit Maharaj, Shamik Rishi was so upset. He said that it's very easy to break a pot, very simple, but it's so difficult to make a pot. You can easily curse a king, that's not a big thing, but to get this kind of a king to protect the citizens is so difficult. It takes so much training and education to get a pious king like this. Because these kings are the protectors, they are the soul, they're the heart and soul of the kingdom. We see that even in the third canto, we see when Swayambhu Manu goes and meets Kardama Muni praises Swayambhu Manu as the protective energy of the Lord. And he goes on praising, saying that if it's not for you, then the moral laws will be broken by the miscreants. So you are the protective energy of the Lord. You are representing the Lord. Because if it's not for the kings, then all the miscreants will cause disturbances and nobody can live peacefully. The goal of human life is to become Krishna conscious. And to become Krishna consciousness, we need certain material situations conducive. And if the ruler is powerful and if he is protecting properly, then the atmosphere is conducive for pursuing one's spiritual practices. Like we see in Mahabharata, Dhritarashtra was not a good king. He did not protect not only citizen, he couldn't even protect his own daughter-in-law. When his daughter-in-law Draupadi was disrobed in in a sabha, and he did not protect Draupadi because of his too much affection towards his son. So he didn't behave like a proper king, and because of his mistake, everybody had to suffer because she was disrobed and she was insulted, and because of that, the Pandavas had a vengeance, and then there was this whole war of Mahabharata, and wherein crores of soldiers were killed and crores of ladies became widows. So the whole war began because of insult of Draupadi. So if Dhritarashtra would have acted like a nice king and he would have given justice and if he would have protected this one lady, then there was no problem. So we see that these kings, even if we see in the ninth canto, we talk about Lord Ramachandra, he goes and protects Vishwamitra's yajna. We see Parikshit Maharaj, he goes and chases Kaviraj. He wants to protect his kingdom from Kali Raja. So it was their duty to protect the citizens, to make sure everything is fine in their kingdom. And in return, the citizens were also very loyal to the kings. And I remember one story in the history of how Maharana Pratap, when his father was a young 7-year-old boy, so enemies come to kill him, and he's a young boy sleeping in the bed, and when the enemies attack and they enter inside the palace, the maid servant of the king, she replaces that boy with her own son. So she puts her own son, dresses her like a prince, puts him on the bed, covers him with a blanket, and he takes Rana Pratap's father, put him inside a basket, and smuggles him out of the palace. And in front of her own eyes, the enemy soldiers, they come and they kill her own son. She doesn't shed even one tear because she was afraid if she cries, then they will come to know that it is her son and not the prince. So like that, if you see in the history, there is so many cases where people made personal sacrifices just to protect the king or the king's family. And why did they do that? Because in turn, the king used to protect them. He's their only way. In fact, if they want to go back to Godhead, they need conducive atmosphere. If they want proper atmosphere, they need to have proper kings. Because the duty of the king to protect the women and children and old people and cows and brahmanas. In fact, even Duryodhan, though being so sinful, he had that much sense that children are supposed to be protected. That is why when Ashwadama killed the 5 sons of Draupadi, Duryodhana was not so happy. He said, "Why did you do that?" Because it's by nature, the Kshatriyas, they're supposed to protect the children, they're supposed to protect old people. We see in the case of there's this famous story of Krishna and Arjun, where one of the citizens come and tell Arjun that, how come my children are dying and you're not protecting? So we know that whole story of how Krishna and Arjun, they themselves go and guard the Brahmana's house to make sure that this time when the Brahmana's wife delivers the child, Yamadut doesn't come to take them. But to their utter surprise, even this time the child dies. And then they are like, how come we are personally protecting? And then we know this whole story of how Krishna and Arjun go to different lokas, but they don't find the Brahmana's children anywhere, and they finally go to Vaikuntha, and they see the Brahmana children playing with Lord Vishnu, and then they take those kids and give back those kids to the Brahmanas. So I was telling the story in the context that how even Lord showed by example that king is supposed to protect the citizens. We see even in the case of Lord Ramachandra, the one Brahmana comes. Actually, Ramaraja was very nice. Everybody used to be very happy. But there was one such incident happened where a Brahmana comes and is very upset with King Ramachandra, and he says, "What sin have you done? Because if the king is sinful, then the citizens suffer. Why? My son died." And Lord Ramachandra is perplexed. He said, "What happened? How come everybody's supposed to be happy in my kingdom? And why did the son?" Because those days during Ramaraja, there was never such a moment that a father would see a child dying in front of him. It was almost like Ichamrityu. Everybody was so happy, contented, satisfied, with no problems. So then when Ramachandra is thinking like this, then Narad Muni comes and helps him. He says, "Well, there is something wrong going on in your kingdom." And then Ramachandra says, "What is that?" And he says, "There is one Shudra who is doing austerity. And according to the Varnashram Dharma, the Shudras are not supposed to do any austerity. Only Brahmanas are supposed to do that. So that is why Brahmana's son died." So then Lord Ramachandra, he mounts on his horse and he goes around in search of the Shudra. And finally at one place he finds the Shudra who's been standing on his one leg and doing some austerity. And immediately Lord Ramachandra beheads him, kills him. So of course, many people argue on this, that how come Lord Ramachandra did that, because whether it's a Brahmana, Shudra or anybody, there's nothing wrong in doing austerity or tapasya. There is equality of all classes. But it's not like that. In those times, there was a very clear distinction between Brahmana, Kshatriya and Shudra, and the clearly defined roles. A Brahmana is supposed to study scriptures and preach, and the Kshatriya is supposed to protect the Brahmanas, and the Shudras are supposed to serve the other three classes. Now, somebody may argue that though he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, why so much partiality? The Shudras do tapasya, what's wrong in that? There's nothing wrong in that, but in this particular case, this Shudra was a demon, and in his previous life, he was a demon, and in this life he was doing austerity with a wrong attitude. Basically, what he wanted to achieve at the end of his austerity is he wanted to enjoy with the wife of Lord Shiva. That was the aim he had behind this tapasya. So that is why Lord Ramchandra did not allow him to continue to do tapasya. Now see, that is why the kings need to have lot of wisdom to decide when to do what. In fact, people even criticize about the incident of Ekalavya. They think that because Dronacharya was very attached to Arjun, that is why maybe he asked Ekalavya for his thumb, so that Arjun becomes the whole and soul, the greatest warrior of his time. But it's not true actually, because the kind of jati Ekalavya belonged to, they were not supposed to be doing that. In the sense, they can use bow and arrows, but they are gullible to use it in a wrong way. See, even that is why in those days, monarchy was prevalent. Though people criticize monarchy and they say democracy is better, but in those days the king's son used to become king. The reason behind this is these people had that ability, that had that capability to restrain themselves, to restrain their senses, to take right decision. And even though they were having so much power, so much talent, so much knowledge, they knew when to use it and in what direction the senses should be directed to. So just like in even for us in the common language, we don't give knife to just any doctor. It is safe in the hand of a surgeon because he knows how to use it. But a knife in the hand of a murderer will cause harm, but the same knife in the hand of a surgeon will benefit others. So that was the case. If Ekalavya, or for that matter anybody else, would have that kind of knowledge that Arjun had in using his bow, they would have misused that knowledge. So that is why they were very very specific, or I should say, in selecting who should get how much knowledge, who should do what kind of austerity. Because these Shudras, if they were allowed to do austerity at that time, their austerity was not aimed at welfare of anybody. It was simply either for sense gratification or probably to cause harm to somebody. So we see that where the king is strong and wise, he can take proper decisions. And wherever the king is powerful, the miscreants are afraid. We even see in the case of King Vena, though he was not a good king, but he was very powerful. And because of him, if you see the previous chapter, they talk about King Vena, that as soon as he was made the king, all the evil elements, they started running here and there out of fear. So if the king is powerful, then everything goes. Of course, King Vena misused his power, but in the case of ideal king, when they are equipped with proper wisdom and bodily strength and power, then they can guide the whole society in proper way. If they have wisdom, they can instruct people in right direction, and if they have power, they can curb vicious elements. Um, I remember on my recent visit to Dubai, when we were coming back from a house program, I was wondering that all the ladies are walking around in the street, and that was somewhere we were coming back maybe 12 midnight from Ajman. And I was telling the devotees, how come they're moving around? Are they not afraid, somebody may attack them? And he was telling me that Mataji here, it is so safe for the ladies to move around even in the middle of the night, because in case if there any attacks these ladies, there is immediately death sentence for them. That's about it. There's no big case like in India. If some lady is attacked or something happens, all the case will go on for years and years, and by that time the victim already becomes 80-year-old and the accused is scot free. But he said it's not like that. The kings in the UAE are so powerful and they have so strong laws about women protection. If somebody misbehaves or does something, they are hanged. That's it. Immediately the case is over. So because of that, the evil elements or the miscreants, they are very much afraid. They dare touch any lady or misbehave. So I was just thinking that where the people are, the king is powerful, everything goes on so perfectly. Because these kings in the Vedic time, they were given lots of training in the Gurukul by the same saintly people who used to always think for the larger welfare of the society. Like we see in the case of Shamik Rishi also, if there was some other Rishi, he would have said, you did good job because he insulted me. It's good you treated him like that. But he was not thinking about his own welfare. He's worried about the whole society. So such kind of detached saints were training these young princes, and they used to become the king in future. And as a result, they were very balanced king, and they gave very good protection to the citizens. The kings were themselves detached from sense gratification. Actually, in our Hindi TV serials and movies, they show king in a very, like a luxuriously, he's sitting on his throne and sipping some wine, and there's some ladies dancing, and he's enjoying. But it's actually not true all the time. That's the only picture we see of a king. But actually, there's so many things which is behind, which they have to do. They are accountable to their spiritual masters. They protect their citizens. They go for waging war. And even the luxuries, actually, it's not the tax money that they're enjoying. In fact, the kings used to never touch the tax money. The tax money used to be simply used for the welfare of the citizens. It's only the gifts which were given out of love, by the citizens, is what the king used to enjoy. But they were very detached. And that is why we see the Vedic kings, they used to do the duty as a king in a very detached manner. And at any point of time, when instructed by their spiritual master, they were ready to leave all the luxuries and go to the jungle and do meditation or tapasya, and then go back to Godhead. So, they used to do their duties so detached, just like the cashier of a bank. He counts lakhs of rupees or crores of rupees, but at the end of the day, he knows it's not his. just as duty. So the kings those days were of that mood. They are in luxury, they are accepting whatever is given to them. At the same time, they are in a mood that this doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I'm simply representing Him, and I'm using those facilities so that I can protect my citizens. So the kings had wonderful qualities. In fact, I remember reading somewhere about how Parikshit Maharaj had so many beautiful qualities, and that is why out of all of them, he was the one who was selected to as a successor for Yudhishthir Maharaj. And I don't remember all the 12 qualities, but then there is a mention that how his devotion to Krishna was like Prahlad, and he was as magnanimous as Shivu Chakravarti, and he was as truthful as Lord Ramachandra, and he was like King Ishwaku as far as the protection to the citizens is concerned, and his determination was like Meru Parvat, and his tolerance was like earth, and he was humble. Like there's so many qualities about him. So these things, we see in our sloka today how they are glorified, but they really, I mean, they are capable of that glorification because they do so much. They lead from the front. They show everything by example. And even we see when Lord Krishna also, as a king of Dwarka, used to show everything by example. It's not if the kings used to simply enjoy. They used to get up early in the morning. They used to do their spiritual things. They used to do fire sacrifices. Like we see even Lord Krishna as a king, he was such a big example. He used to get up early in the morning as soon as the rooster used to sing, or I don't know what you say in English, as soon as the cuckoo makes the noise, and he just gets up from the bed. And the queen used to curse those rooster. Oh, why did it make noise? And our husband is now going to get up. So he used to get up early in the morning, take bath, do meditation. Of course, he used to meditate on himself. And then he used to give cows in charity. There is a fixed number also I read somewhere. They said Krishna used to donate 13,054 cows every single day from all the 16,108 palaces, along with his 16,108 wives. So each palace used to donate around 13,054 cows. And that was his daily routine. So even Lord Krishna, he was showing by example that how a king should be. So we see that, and one line I like about what Prabhupada said. He said that in the purport, with this I will enter. He says, government head must therefore be so competent to rule over the state that the citizens will worship him as God in human form. That is the perfectional stage for the head of any government or state. So they can take respect from the citizens. They can be worshipped and respected as Supreme Personality of Godhead, but for that they should also display such qualities and such examples and such exemplary behavior. Because as it says in Sanskrit, Yatha Raja Tatha Praja. Whatever the Raja does, even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says Yat Yadacharit Shrestha. So whatever the great people do, the other citizens follow. That's why it was such a big responsibility of the kings to behave in a proper manner. That is why Lord Ramchandra was so careful. When the Dhobi criticized Sita Mata, he immediately gave up Sita because he wanted to be a proper example. Of course, as ISKCON devotees, spiritual leaders, and leader of our own house, as a mother, as a father, as a teacher, or as a teacher for our children, we have to be so careful in our day-to-day life also, what we do, what we don't do, because it says that what we do or what we don't do becomes the culture of our house, our organization, our temple, our community. So it's not that leaders means only those who are leading our temples. Everybody is a leader in their own community or in their own house or in their own family, because as mother or father, we are leaders for our own children. So it's a very big responsibility for the leader that they have to have a proper behavior. If the way the leaders behave, immediately that becomes a culture of that temple or that house. You see in some temples, leaders are very particular about book distribution. Then that becomes the culture of that temple. In some temples, the leaders are very particular about morning program. Then that becomes the culture of that temple. So whatever we do or we don't do becomes the culture. So we have to be so careful as individuals, because as whatever position we may be holding, we are small little leaders in our own situation. So we have to be very careful. And I'll tell you one last story and end it here. Of course, I know, or I'm sure you all know this story. It's very famous, but it's related to today's verse, so I will repeat it here, about how once in Lord Rama's kingdom, everybody was happy, but in the middle of the night, a dog puts the bell and he says, I want justice. And then Lakshman goes and brings the dog inside. And that was a system. If anybody rings the bell, then wherever, in whatever situation the king is, he has to come to his court and give justice. So then he sees this dog walking inside. And Lakshman says, why do you want to disturb the king? I'll give you justice. And the dog says, no, I want to take the justice from Lord Ramachandra. And then Lord Rama is summoned, and Lord Rama says, how can I help you? And then this dog says, well, while I was taking rest, I was being hit by a Brahmana on my head with his leg. So kindly give justice. So then they sent for that Brahmana who had hit the dog, and they called the Brahmana and they asked him, why did you do that? And Brahmana says, well, I was just coming back from a house program and I was in a hurry and I just hit this. I was in a bad mood. I didn't get proper charity from my Yajaman. So I just hit this dog. And then now he has to he has to give justice to both of them. So then the dog says that, well, you must punish him. And then Lord Rama gives him choice, tells the dog that since I'm supposed to protect the Brahmanas, I have to, give a proper justice in a balanced way. So I give you the choice, since he has hit you first. Tell me what punishment you want, I should give it to him. And then the dog says, the punishment I want you should give him is that you make him a head of a religious organization. And then Lord Rama is very surprised. He said, this is a gift, it's not a punishment. Why do you want me to make him a head of a religious organization? And then, the dog says, well, I'm telling you that because I myself was a head of a religious organization in my previous life. And because of the mistake I committed today, I had to become a dog. Though I was 99.9% a very nice leader, but 0.1%, I got angry on some other fellow devotee in the ashram, and this is what I am today. And now I see that the kind of nature this Brahmana has, just because somebody didn't give him proper charity, in such a bad mood, he hit me. If he has so much anger, I'm sure he'll make hundreds of mistakes as the religious head of that organization, and I'm sure he will get worse birth than what I got. So that is the way I want to punish him. So I thought this story was so much connected to today's world that if somebody wants to be head of some place, they have to be really careful. Because if you're not competent, then you will make a mistake. And just like you're getting worshipped like a supreme lord, you also get punished in the same way because you are on a very responsible position. So if you make mistake, then when the punishment is that big, the glorification is glorious, but the punishment is even bigger. So one should be very careful whenever they're taking any leadership position, or for that matter, even in their own smaller way, whatever they are leader. When somebody is looking up to us, we need to be exemplary. We need to behave properly. So, am I already over time, or do you like me to share one more story?
Sure, Mataji.
Okay, I'm just remembering this very one funny story. I don't know, you people may be knowing, you're hearing so much. But this is very funny. I enjoy telling this story about one foolish king. There was one guru and his disciples, and they were roaming around from different kingdoms. And they finally end up coming to this kingdom of this one foolish king. So how do they know the king is foolish? Because when they were walking inside the marketplace of that kingdom, they observed that the prices of vegetables were more than dry fruits, and the dry fruits were very cheap. So the Guruji tells his disciple, let's immediately run away from this kingdom, because this kingdom has been run by a foolish king. So disciple says, why do you say that? So he said, how come the vegetables are costing high and the dry fruits are very cheap? So that means there is some problem with the king. Let's go from here. So the disciple says, but why should we go? It's funny. It's nice. We can buy lots of almonds and cashews and be happily. If the king is foolish, what's our problem? So Guruji warns him that this is not the right place. We should not stay where foolish people are. Let's go. But the disciple is adamant. And the Guru says, fine, I'm leaving. Then you stay here. If there's any trouble, any time, you remember your Guru. And he just leaves this place. The disciple is very happy because this king is foolish and everything is so cheap. What is supposed to be expensive is cheap. What is supposed to be cheap is expensive. Now this disciple, he takes lots of dry fruits and he becomes very fat, healthy, fit and fine, and few months pass. Now after that, what happens? There is a murder in that kingdom, and the murderer is given the punishment to be hanged. And so they get the murderer and they want to hang him. So they tie the rope to his neck and they're all ready to hang him. But this murderer outwits them and he just runs away. And when he runs away, the soldiers go and ask the king that, my dear king, the murderer has run away. Please go behind him and catch him. The king is so lazy, enjoying with his queen. Then he says, who is going to run behind that murderer to get him? Do one thing, you have the measurement of the neck of that murderer, right? Because you had tied him with the rope. So take that rope and go around in the kingdom. Anybody whose neck fits rightly in that rope, just hang him. That's it. Who's going to go behind that murderer? So the soldiers say, fine. So they just go around with the rope and, check everybody's neck's measurement. And then this fat disciple, he just suits perfectly in that rope. And they said, come on, because your neck measurement is exactly the measurement of that murderer. So we will now hang you. And the disciple is, but what I did wrong? He said, nothing, but the measurement is same. So we will kill you instead because he has run away. So the disciple starts crying and calling his Gurudev. And his Gurudev immediately appears. He comes there and he says, okay, I'll help you, don't worry. So the Gurudev goes and tells the king that don't kill my disciple. In fact, you can give me that, you can hang me. And the king says, why are you so eager to get hanged? Then he said, I can't tell you that, but I need to be hanged. I'm requesting you. He falls at the feet of the king and he requests, I have to be hanged today. Please, I'm requesting you, don't delay. And the king said, this is something fishy. Why are you requesting me so much time? What is so special to be hanged? Then the Guruji says, well, since you are insisting, I'll tell you why I want to be hanged. Please don't tell this to anyone. It's a very big secret. It's just that King Indra's post is vacant because Indra has gone on a holiday and they're looking for an alternate Indra. So anybody who dies at this particular Muhurat will be immediately made the king of heaven. So that is why I'm so eager to die immediately. Then the king immediately pushes the Guruji and he says, do you think I'm a fool? If it is so auspicious time to be dying and there's an opportunity to become Indra, why will I give you the opportunity? It's me who will be hanged and not you. So the king insists that he should be hanged, and then the soldiers finally end up hanging the king. So like that, if the king is foolish, then the whole situation of the kingdom will go hayway. So it's very important that the one who is in that responsible position is properly educated, trained, and then only he can do justice. So I'll end it here and I'll pause for questions.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please handle obeisances. Thank you so much for the very beautiful class, as always, with a lot of valuable stories and lessons. Mataji, I just had one question. This was about the story of Shambhuka who was doing austerities. So, is that the person who was doing austerities? Yeah, Ramachandra. Yeah. So, is there any place where I can read about his desire to actually enjoy Parvati Devi? Is there anything like that? I mean, as you were mentioning, the wife of Shiva.
I heard this in one of the Bhagavatham class from ISKCON Guru. I haven't read it, so I wouldn't know.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mataji. I was just curious to know. Thank you so much for the very, very beautiful class, Mataji, as always. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for such a beautiful class on such an auspicious day of Nirjala Ekadashi. So I just have one question, Mataji. You said that when Ashwatthama killed the sons of Pandava, even Duryodhana was not happy, though he was such a wicked Kshatriya, but still because
the kings those days were so compassionate that even though Kashvathama did such a heinous act, Duryodhana was not at all happy with it. But on the other hand, we see that in the war of Kurukshetra, Duryodhana himself participated in killing Ashwatthama, and which was not a good way that he was fighting with so many warriors was fighting with Abhimanyu, and he participated in killing Abhimanyu. So how to understand these contradictions? Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yeah, yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji, are you there? Lalitangi Mataji. Oh, Krishna.
This Mataji was dropped off.
Oh, but Lalitangi Mataji is still there. Lalitangi Mataji, can you check your phone? It's on mute.
Maybe her connection is weak because she was already having weak connection. If Srinivasanam Prabhu is there on the call, if we can connect, we can try. Is Lavanya Mataji or Vardhana on the phone?
Yeah, Lalitangi Mataji is connecting, Mataji. I just called.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Please wait because there is some connection problem. Lalitanki Mataji has connected Nitai Sevini Mataji. She could hear, but we could not. So she's connecting again.
Krishna, Nitai, Sevini Mataji, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Others,
Can I connect her?
is she audible?
Yes, Mataji. We can hear now. Yes.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So I think when I got disconnected, the question asked was that if Duryodhana had a little kind heart, how come he participated in killing of Abhimanyu? So well, I said that was the difference between an ideal king and a person like this who uses the principles of scriptures for his own convenience. So at any point of time, if he sees that his sense gratification or his enjoyment is curbed, then he doesn't want to follow scriptures. But otherwise, he's very spiritual. Something like we see in the case of Hiranyakashipu also. When Hiranyaksha died, he gave a big lecture to Hiranyaksha's wife about how to be detached and how we are not this body and soul. And then he's again ready to kill Vishnu. So we see in the case of Kamsa also. He's very nice brother, following all principles, driving his sister after her marriage by himself in the chariot. But the moment Akashvani comes, then immediately he becomes a madman and he's ready to kill his sister. So that is the difference with this Duryodhan, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Ravana. They're all well versed in scriptures, but they use use it selectively wherever they want. So it's not that under every situation they accept scriptures. They accept it with choice whenever they feel like. They are full of knowledge. But at this moment, because it didn't help him anyway, he had lost the war. So that's why he said that, Arey, why you have killed the sons of Draupadi? Because anyway, my children are killed, and who will continue the whatever the dynasty was, Kuru dynasty. So like that. So it's like they're very selective. So that is why, like when we accept the scriptures, we have to accept it completely, and not that we accept the back side of the hen because it gives egg, but we don't want the front side because we have to feed it. So it's not like that. So that is the case of Duryodhana. So he is well versed in knowledge, but where he sees he can do something, then he forgets about principles at that time. He just goes ahead and kills. But otherwise, he is ready to speak about it or follow it. I hope it answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji. It really helps. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for the very, very beautiful class, Mataji, and thank you so much for your time. I know you have a very busy schedule, but still you take some time and give us a class. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your service, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me, Mataji?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Yes.
Pranama, Mataji. I have this question. So generally,
Yes.
devotee says that, for example, if he face any difficulty, immediately the problem will solve. Then they say, yeah, Krishna is merciful, and he never troubles the devotee, is always helpful, so merciful. In that way, they'll say. In other way, if devotees are going, or any person is going on difficulties, they say Krishna is testing that one, so you have to maintain the balance in the spiritual world. You don't lose the faith. So how can I understand both the things?
I'm sorry, I could not understand your question. So it's that is what devotees do when they see apparently things are not going the way they want it to go. Then they say that Krishna is testing us, and when it goes the way way they want it to go, then they say Krishna is helping. So What is the question about it?
So how can I understand? Like, for example, if myself or somebody is going difficulties, so I don't know. Like,
how do you understand whether Krishna is testing you or not?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like that's what devotees do. It's like whenever we don't understand what Krishna is planning for us, then we simply give the name of it, that Krishna is testing us or something like that to console ourselves. Because nobody can understand the plan of Krishna. Even if those who are pure devotees of Krishna also don't understand Krishna. In fact, Krishna also doesn't understand himself, what he wants to do. So he is the independent Swarat, what he wants to do, when he wants to do what with somebody, we never know. He has his own plans. He doesn't have any fixed plan. And there's no such fixed formula that we can be also sure that yes, Krishna, because see, even though Krishna says Name Bhakti Pranashyati, but sometimes we see in situations he doesn't protect also. But of course his protection is in different way, but like I always give this example of how he didn't protect the sons of Draupadi, but he protected the sons of Kunti, but he didn't protect the sons of his own mother. All of them were killed by Kamsa. So it's so difficult to understand Krishna. Nobody can understand Krishna because we cannot understand Krishna. So that is why whenever a situation goes the hayway, we simply say, well, Krishna has his own plan and maybe he is testing me, and this is how we console ourselves. Because the whole point in spiritual life is not to understand Krishna's plan, but to follow Krishna's plan, to surrender to Krishna's plan. This is what we are trying to do as devotees. So it's not that if somebody becomes very senior devotee or a pure devotee, he'll start understanding Krishna. Nobody at any point of time can understand what is Krishna's plan. But the only difference between us and the senior devotees is that we keep trying to figure out what is Krishna's plan, but they simply surrender to Krishna's plan. So that's about it. Whenever certain situation happens, we just surrender. We just do what we can do, and then we leave rest on Krishna. If we are successful, we say it because of Krishna. If we are not successful, we say maybe it's not the right time, maybe it's not the end, because Krishna may be having some other plan for us. Like, they say no, at the end everything is fine. And if things are not fine with you, then you understand that it's not end. It's not the end. Like they say in Hindi, picture abhi baki hai. The climax will always be good. And if in our lives things are not going good, then we know that's not the climax of our movie. The movie is still going on. Because at the end, everything will be fine. Because in our lives, Krishna is the controller, and ultimately he will give a good ending to our lives. So that is how devotees think. They either say Krishna's test, or they say this is Krishna's plan, or they say maybe Krishna maybe having plan A, B, C, something else for me, but we surrender to him.
Thank you so much.
I just hope I got your question right. I am not sure if I answered it, but this is what I understood from your question.
Yes, Mataji, I'm good now. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, it's so nice to hear from you. So Mataji, like maybe my question might be not directly related to the topic which we are taking now, but because you are like, we really like listen to you so much, so I just thought of asking you this. Mataji, what like I've started experiencing is like when we are new in devotion or when we are early in devotion, it is like we are so enthusiastic, right? So we are so eager to do many things. And then there comes a setback wherein sometimes we hear from devotees that, oh, they are new, so they are having that enthusiasm. Let some year pass and then you'll see what happens. So that thing is hard to digest. Like I think as you go in more devotion, you should be more willing to do more things. So what is exactly too much and what is exactly too little, or what is laziness and what is enthusiasm? I'm really getting confused in that recently. So like if you could please guide, that would be really a great help for me.
Let me repeat the question. If I have got it, I have heard it correctly. You are saying that sometimes some devotees say that these people are new in Krishna consciousness, so they have all the enthusiasm. Let the time pass, and they won't have the same enthusiasm. Is that what your question is about?
Right. That's the first part, Mataji.
So is your question like, why does this happen?
Yeah,
or is your question that will it happen with everybody?
Yeah, does it happen?
I'll say the two things to this question. Does it happen with everybody is your question? Why does this happen is your question?
Yeah, why does it come from senior people in this way?
All right. Now I got your question clear. You said, why do the senior people comment in such a way?
Yeah,
okay. Now there are two ways. There's I'll tell you why devotees say that. Because when you have children, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
How old?
One is 8 and another is 13.
All right. Boys, girls?
Boys, Mataji, both.
Both of them. Do you ever have a wrestling fight or something with them for fun?
Yes.
Yeah, I have two sons, and I do that with them all the time. And I tell you, my younger one is 10 years old, and my elder one is now he's too much for my strength now. He's 19 years old. Now, I remember when he was young, I didn't have to use so much strength, but now he's like 19, so he doesn't fight with me anymore because I'm no match to him. But for my younger one, because he's still 10, so I have a good fight with him. Now, when we have fight with children, we don't use all our strength. But if the same fight is with elder, you will have to use more strength. So Maya, when she's dealing with the devotees who are young in Krishna consciousness, she goes a little slow. So the devotees have all the enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness, but as soon as they start going more further and further and coming closer to Krishna, then Maya is like, oh, so now they're coming close. So now she'll start taking out all her weapons from back and behind and here and there, and she will try all the ways to make sure, because we're just coming closer to Krishna. So at that time, there are always situations where Some devotees get defeated, and then they again back to square A, and they have to start again. There are some devotees who just fight it out with Maya and go more further, and they're feeling more enthusiastic as days go by. So everybody has a...
All participants are on hold. All participants are off hold.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, now we can hear you.
Yeah. So there are different kind of experiences. So there are some devotees who have that experience of fighting and struggling it out with Maya. So they're always warning you, and you should take it positively when they say that, that now you have enthusiasm, you may not have it. So I would say you should not get disappointed when somebody says that. Then you should say, okay, koi baat nahi, baad mein my enthusiasm may go down. So now my enthusiasm is high. So let me do as much as I can do. Just like you tell, children, abhi kar lo kaam. Afterwards you become old, then, you won't have that much strength to do this seva or to do a nirjala. Upvas, you do it now since you have no health. My younger one, he's a 10-year-old, he's doing today nirjala without water. So one of my servant maid was trying to convince him, why you are so young, you shouldn't do it, take some water. So I just came inside this room because I had to take the conference call with you, and I heard my son counseling her and telling my servant maid that no, now I'm young, so I can do it. If I get elder, then I may have some health problem, then I can't do it. You understand? So when somebody says like this to you, you should take it very enthusiastically. Yeah, maybe because now we are new in Krishna consciousness, now we are enthusiastic, don't know what kind of weapons Maya will take out to fight with us. So since now I have the enthusiasm, I'll go ahead and happily do more service. This is how you should take it. And as I told you, everybody has different experience. There may be also a set of devotees who will tell you that you will enjoy more and more as you go further in Krishna consciousness. Everybody has a different experience. Some of them have fought it out with Maya and they were successful, so they will give you their different kind of experience. Somebody tried but couldn't, so they will give you their set of experience. So it's that, that when I was young in college, Rahul Dravid was the Indian captain, and there used to be this advertisement about Rahul Dravid with everything. And there is one advertisement where Rahul Dravid is inside a departmental store and is buying some groceries, and some fat lady who's also buying groceries next to him comes and gives him advice. Hey, you should, catch the bat like this so that you can put a 6 and 4. And Rahul Dravid is all laughing and he's like, ki advice to sab dete hai, but the point is that advice dete kitte ho. So many people will come and try to give advice. So it's up to you from whom you want to take advice. So when there are devotees who are coming and telling you that you won't have the same enthusiasm, it's up to you from whom do you want to take advice. And if you are not interested by that kind of advice, go and meet some other set of devotees who will give you a different kind of advice and say, nothing to worry. It's going to be more nicer and sweeter as you go ahead in Krishna consciousness. Is it okay? My answer is okay. Are you okay with it?
Perfect, Mataji. Perfect. It's such a nice outlook to look at these things. And I think my second question about it, how much is too much, might be answered in that. Or do you want to just throw more light on that?
See, I'll just give you one more example. I hope things make clear. When you get inside the cave, in the beginning, it's you can see everything because you're just getting inside the cave, so it's not very dark because you are very much near to the entrance gate, so you can see still the light coming in. But when you get into the middle of the cave, it's very frightening because you can't see the entrance light and neither you can see the exit. But then you go a little bit more forward, and when you can see that light coming from the exit door, then you are very comfortable. So now there are devotees who are right in the entrance. They're very happy because they can still see both the sides, darkness and the light. And then there are devotees who've been practicing for a few years now, and now they're in the middle of the cave. They can't go back to the entrance and they're not able to see the exit. So at that point of moment, they are, oh my God, depressed because they just see darkness everywhere. So it's just that at that point of time, you just need some mentor in your life who's going to hold your hand and say, look, we are on the right path and just few more steps and we're going to see exit, and then everything will be fine. So if you have a mentor, a spiritual master in your life who can help you with that, and then finally when we are near to exit, then again we are happy because we are able to see light. It's just that middle few years when you go down and up. And if those few years, if you manage with some mentor, you are fine in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much. It's really nice to hear from you. Thank you again, Mataji. Very good.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
So is everybody still there in the conference? Are the devotees still there?
Yes,
Yes,
Mataji.
Mataji. Hare Krishna,
No,
Mataji.
I just wanted to make an. I don't know whether I'm going to make it or not, but probably I'm planning to come there in September. My dates are not yet finalized. I've applied for the visa and all. Let's see how it goes. If September 3rd is my visa interview. If things go fine, I will be there in the middle of the September. I don't know if I can see you all. I'm not even sure where you all are from which city. I'm coming to New York. I'm coming to New York.
Mataji,
I'm
please
coming to
come
New
to
York and
Charlotte. Please come to
okay,
Charlotte
one
when
other
you
place I'm going to come is yeah. I'm sorry. What's that?
I said please
Hello.
come to Charlotte. Please come to Charlotte when you come to New
Okay.
York. Not so far from here.
Okay. Yeah. As of now, I have Seattle, New York, and Orlando in my mind. But I don't know. Again, I have to keep my fingers crossed because 3rd September is the interview. If everything goes well, then September 14th I'll be coming there.
Mataji, please come to Detroit also. I am from Detroit.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Fine.
Mataji,
So
Detroit.
anyway, I'll be in touch with this group, and if everything finalized, I will put it in the group. If any of you are in the cities where I'm coming, would like to meet you all. There was one Mataji was asking question. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, Mataji. Mataji, I have a question that Mataji, how can we keep every moment as Krishna consciousness? Sometimes, not sometimes, for me, more than half day I am not Krishna conscious, I'm sure. But how to keep every moment into Krishna conscious? Please guide us, Mataji.
Mataji, actually, it's not only you. I think everybody of us, like that famous joke where one devotee goes and tells Prabhupada that Prabhupada, sometimes I'm sometimes falling in Maya, and Prabhupada laughed and said, "Well, you are always in Maya, but sometimes you are in Krishna consciousness." So I think that holds true for all of us because we are in this material world, but it's just that we are trying. Just like Prabhupada gave this example of the pilot in the flight, he said that the flight almost 80% of the time is swaying away from the path, but the pilot keeps on bringing it back to the path. Similarly, we are also always, all the time, almost outside of Krishna consciousness, but somehow we have to bring ourselves and our mind into Krishna consciousness. Now, of course, I could give a very elaborate answer on this, but this may not be the time. But in short, it's just that we have to have activities in our life in such a way that there is Krishna in center. If we can dovetail our activities in such a way, I don't know, somehow I feel that more than the previous times, I think now in this Kali Yuga modern age, it's become all the more easy actually if we take a little effort to become Krishna conscious because of so much facilities of technology, right from YouTube classes to web darshans to just about so quick reach with devotees and getting virtual and audio association. So much facilities is there nowadays to become Krishna conscious. I think if I have to give a one-line answer to this, I will say don't leave association of devotees and do not have materialistic friends. If these two things we can follow, I think rest of it just follows. It's like those deers, the deer is always in a group. They just move around and they are never alone. But the lion is always waiting that when will the deer move away from its herd, then I will attack. And sometimes it so happens that the younger deer who are not so much experienced, they get tempted by the soft green grass somewhere and they start eating it and the herd goes away forward and they don't follow the herd. And the moment that happens, immediately the lion or tiger attacks the deer. So the whole point about being in Krishna consciousness is that just stay with the herd. I mean the herd of devotees, or you mean to say the group of devotees. And if we can just stay with the devotees somehow and not have materialistic association, then somehow they will drag us into Krishna consciousness. Because our all activities, what we do, talk, eat, hear, speak, will be centered with Krishna in center because devotees are involved, and that way we can become Krishna consciousness. But if we have materialistic association, then that takes us away from Krishna. So I would just say that is, of course, you can speak hours on this, can be a topic in itself, but I think that is one way, being in association of devotees, reading, hearing, chanting, keeping our activities connected to Krishna. That's what is coming immediately from my mind. I don't know. Some other day I can think about it and let you know.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat. Mataji, I have a quick question, and I've been struggling with this, so I would really request your help on this. Earlier, Mataji, I was involved in many services, but due to certain health situations, due to certain family situations, I have retracted myself from many services, and every time it's like hearting in my mind. I keep thinking, oh, I had committed for this, now I'm not able to do it. So I kind of keep on feeling guilty inside, and I kind of push myself to do it. When I try, then I think that, oh, I cannot do it. So I don't know, is it my enthusiasm going down, or is it just that these health and this family situation is an excuse that every time thinking I'm not able to delineate between that, or maybe that my enthusiasm, as you said, I'm somewhere in the, I don't know, maybe in the middle, the beginning, middle, I don't know, or maybe in the right in the beginning, I don't know where I am. And that's the reason why my enthusiasm is going down and I'm not able to serve Krishna the way I used to, Mataji. Please help me. I'm really confused. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so what I understand in your question is that you used to do a lot of service before, but you aren't able to do it now, but you still keep trying to do it, but you're unable to do it, and that makes you feel bad. Now, before I answer this question, I just wanted to clarify one thing. There may be so many senior devotees in this conference, and I'm sure they may be knowing better answers for these questions, but it's just that I'm speaker for the day and I'm trying to answer. So if at all there is any mistake or I'm not able to answer properly, please forgive me. And I'm not trying to give any advices. It's just that because I'm the speaker, I'm just trying to answer whatever is coming in my mind. So kindly forgive me for that. Now, coming to your question, I was reading somewhere where Prabhupada said that it's a privilege to struggle for Krishna. So at that last days in Vrindavan, when he wasn't even able to turn himself to the sides while sleeping, and devotees had to help him to turn around, and he was still dictating his Bhagavatam, translating, and at that point of time he was saying that it's a privilege to struggle for you, Krishna, and don't take away this opportunity. So actually the whole point in Krishna consciousness is not the result what you're able to achieve, or how greatly you are able to do some service for Krishna, or how successful you are. The whole point is, are you trying? Are you doing it? Are you making the effort? Are you struggling? And that is what makes Krishna happy. It's just like a mother who is watching the child falling down and getting up and then falling and trying to walk and come close. And it's not that whether the child will be able to reach mother or not, but that whole process of at least the child is trying makes the mother happy. So that's what is going to make Krishna happy. So if you're doing your 100% and you're trying your best, and you are even thinking in your mind, oh, I want to do so much for you, Krishna. Oh, I want to do this, but I'm unable to do. But you are trying. It's not that you are simply talking that I'm unable to do. Oh, what can I do? You are trying, you said, but it's not happening because of health. But then again, you are trying. So that's beautiful. I mean, that's what we are all trying to do. It's just that sometimes if Krishna is the independent master, sometimes he gives us success, sometimes he doesn't give. It's his mood and his wish. He is our master. Whatever way he wants, he will treat us. But the whole point is we are trying or not, and that's what makes him happy. So that what you said just now, oh, I'm trying, but oh, I'm not able to do it. And when you say like this, and when you speak like this, Krishna becomes so happy that here is my devotee who's trying her best to do something, but is unable to do. And that's all. That's the perfection. If we can keep struggling for Krishna, the day we become satisfied, oh, I'm doing great services, that's the end of our devotional life. The water shouldn't be standing, otherwise it becomes stagnant. It has to move. So if you're trying something, sometimes you're able to do, sometimes you're not able to do, sometimes you're successful. Our service is not measured by the result, it's just measured by the kind of endeavor that you are putting in. If you are doing it with your heart, mind, heart, soul, words, if you're using your body, everything in Krishna service is happening. You are able to attend, you are able to do it or not, is not important, just the end.
Thank you, Mataji.
I hope it helps.
Yeah, thanks. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam Mataji, this is Shyamala Gopika Devi Dasi. Thank you first of all for your time and giving association to us, Mataji. I have one small question, Mataji, that in the 10 offenses that in the last one, like we should avoid inattentive chanting. So inattentive chanting, it is also like I heard that when we are working, so I usually do hear lecture during when I work sometimes. So like not an official work, but in household work. So when we are doing that work, so I used to hear lectures, but even that is also not proper because we are not properly listening. So because of that, that is also considered as an offense. So is that considered as an offense? Because we try to hear about Krishna always so that we can engage our mind. So that's why like when we are doing some work also we try to focus on Krishna by hearing. So is that an offense by hearing in that uh, situation?
As far as I understand, you can always ask this question to some other seniors also and founded. But as far as I understand, I don't think it's an offense because in our day-to-day activities, we are trying to fit in Krishna here and there. So I don't think there is anything wrong. Personally, in my room, I have this mantra box of Srila Prabhupada chanting Hare Krishna 24 hours on, even in the night while I'm sleeping. And very quickly it gets spoiled because I keep using, I mean, it's always on 24 hours. So when it gets spoiled, I replace it with another mantra and I keep doing it. So as a result, all the time the chanting of Prabhupada is there. Whatever, no matter whatever anybody moving around in the room can hear. So even if I'm moving anywhere in the vehicle, I'm listening to Prabhupada class. So I personally, I am never thinking that it's an offense or something because when I'm in the room, I may be doing hundreds of things or dressing up or using the washroom or just moving around. But then that Prabhupada tape is continuously playing, and even when I'm traveling around, I'm hearing. So I don't know if it is offense or something. It's just that if we can have proper chanting of our 16 rounds and nicely at one place we finish our daily quota and then rest of it is like extra a bonus which we try to squeeze in here and there in between of our normal works connected to our material body which we have to do. So somebody's cooking and hearing a lecture or somebody's driving while hearing. So I don't think there is anything wrong in that. It's just that the whole point about chanting is trying to remember Krishna. And I think this is what we are doing by trying to hear lecture or sound of Prabhupada to somehow get our mind connected to Krishna. So I don't think Mataji is any offense. It's any offense. It's just that what they mean to say when you say that it's an offense to be inattentive while chanting is that whatever our daily quota, when we are supposed to sit and chant, at that time at least we should make sure that we don't do it very carelessly. But rest of the 22 hours that we have to work, if we are trying to accommodate lectures and chanting in that, there is nothing wrong. But at least that 2 hours which we are out to chant properly, we should try to chant properly. Of course, there is one is point of concentration and one is circle of concentration. The goal is to have perfect concentration, but because it is not possible, at least we are inside the circle of concentration by creating situations and using things which will at least remind us of Krishna and then again trying to drag our mind back to Krishna. But if you say that, then our life will become so dry. Imagine we just do 2 hours of perfect chanting and then 22 hours because it's offense, we don't hear and we don't chant and we simply carry forward our materialistic activities, then it will not be correct. So I believe, I don't think there is any offense if you are continuously hearing or chanting. You can always ask this question to some others also and get clarification. As far as I am concerned, this is what I'm doing in my personal life too. Because that's the only way. Otherwise, it's very difficult to sit and hear sometime because there's so many activities going on. So it's always on the run only, whatever I want to hear or read. Yes, Mataji, thank you so much. Yeah, what I heard is like for chanting, yes, as you said, like so 16 rounds of the quota has to be done, and after that, even it's not an offense to hear the holy name, but especially they talk about lectures. So Bhagavatham lectures or some lectures like so that we have to sit and concentrate and listen. So that is not an attentive hearing which we are talking.
When you actually go to a temple, a live speaker is speaking there. Then we expect that when a speaker is speaking, you sit there and you hear Bhagavatam properly instead of looking here and there, who has come inside the temple, who has gone, who's wearing what sari, what has happened. So that is not the right way. We just look at the speaker and we try to listen and we don't chant our rounds at that time. And that way we respect the speaker and Bhagavatam. But if the same thing we are getting inside our room or in our workplace, I'm sure we have to do 100 different works in the workplace, signing something, typing something. So how is it possible at that time to hear properly? In fact, actually, it's not the way to do. I remember in my childhood also, when my parents and all used to hear some Bhagavad Saptas, there were particular some Swamijis who sell their tape recorded cassettes because they said if you sit in the drawing room of your house and you hear my Bhagavatam class and if you don't concentrate on here it will become sin, so that's why they never used to release the recording of those Bhagavad Saptas. So I remember my mom used to say that because of that we don't hear, because at home we may make some offense. Now here I think offense in the sense is when you take it very cheaply, carelessly, you're not bothered, you're just talking with somebody or some cracking a joke and it just goes in the background, that's different. But here is a situation where you want to listen, but then you are in middle of something, you are signing something, you are writing some document, and in that between, whenever you get that 5 minutes, you have that hankering, oh, I want to hear, but I'm unable to hear. That's a different feeling where somebody is hankering to do that, but then situation is such you are busy in some other service, so in between whatever time you get, you use it for hearing, that's all right. But here are people who are sitting in the drawing room or maybe just watching some cricket match and then chanting. You understand what this is all for, that kind of, being inattentive while chanting. Trying to do some materialistic entertainment, at the same time you want to hear a little bit, that's different. But here you hankering for hearing it, but in between you are interrupted because there are some work has to be done, then that's a different question. I hope I helped you with this. I don't know.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, definitely it helps me. So only thing our focus, our hankering is hankering, then it is correct. Like we should not divert so much. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, we'll end it here. Yeah. So anybody else has any other question? We'll end it here.
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mataji, please keep coming on the call.
Mataji, this recorded will be posted in the group, the class recording.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, I don't see till today. Okay, Mataji, thank you.
Yeah. No, it will come, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you so much. This will always send this to Mataji and all the Vaishnavas.
Pavneveyo Vaishnaveyo Namo Namo.
This session is no longer being recorded.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Please come to Mataji.